Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Sasquatch review. No gameplay at the moment, we are all on lockdown. So I thought why not start a little series. We've done reviews in the past, but while there's not much going on a Sunday or on a weekend at all, why not put a few videos together just to keep us entertained? There might be some laughs, there might be something you want to have a look at. Again, any questions, please let us know in the comments below. What we're going to be looking at today is something from KWA. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sasquatch review. So yes, the KWA Mach 11. It has the classic wire folding stock. It comes out. Gets it in your shoulder, very nice. It's a short, stubby, square SMG, and it is an incredible amount of fun. So if you watched the little short on Facebook, you'll notice that we went through Gordon's website and had a look at the KWA products, specifically the SMG products he's got up there. Unfortunately, the MP9 has sold out. These guns have absolutely flown off the shelves. They have been so popular. There are magazines still available for each different type of these as well, but if you was after the MP9 version, I would suggest giving Gordon a shout and seeing if he can get any more in. It might be difficult during this time, but knowing Gordon as I do, he will try his hardest to get these in for you. Again, remember, support your local shops, especially at this time. We don't want to lose them. So why don't we have a look, see what you get in the box. So, nice big box. Obviously, the riff is over there. You probably can't see it. It's probably quite camouflage being black and everything else is black. But in the box, it all falls out. No. You get your instructions. Now, one thing to note on here is it has a loading guide, a feed guide. And from experimentation with it, it's actually quite important to get the BBs in that zigzag order. We all try to do it, but it is really important that we get that done. The other thing is here, it says to leave the final BB below the line of the feed lips. Again, quite important. There are a couple of quirks with this weapon, but it just makes it even more fun, to be honest. So what else do we have in the box? We have the requisite crap BBs. We have a little bottle of lube. Got to keep this thing lubed up. It is a gas blowback gun, so obviously very important. We have the hop key. Now we're going to keep this one out because we will need this later on. And then the magazine with its nice bright yellow warning sticker. Now luckily enough, this sticker is actually covered by the handle. You can see the little retention piece there. That is where the base of the pistol grip sits, so you won't see that at all. And it is quite a useful little sticker, because if you do release the magazine follower, and you're going to see why you would lock the magazine follower down, and then when it's empty it could damage it. It could damage the follower and the lock. These are plastic pieces in a metal magazine. So obviously repeated up and down, up and down. Obviously when it's full of BBs, you're going to get that slow release of it going up. It's almost going to be cushioned. But if you're springing that all the way up there, which has got to be a fair old distance, back and forth, you are going to damage that follower. So it is always useful to keep that on there. Let's keep that one out. And that is it. There's some old BBs rolling around in there from testing and bits and pieces. You have in here your warranty card. Now, an interesting thing is what's happening with quite a lot these days, not just in airsoft, but with loads of products out there. There's no manual. So normally you used to get those big fold-out manuals or big posters that have a little bit of technology on the back and then just pictures of other guns in the catalogue on the front. This one you download. which is actually quite useful. I kept it on my phone for a while I was testing and seeing how things worked. But overall, I've actually found that to be quite useful. You don't have to keep a piece of paper knocking about, even though you probably won't have it for very long until you've actually learned how to use it. But anyway, let's put the box to one side. Oh, you also get a handy dandy target on the back. So let's have a look at the weapon. Here it is in all its glory. We have that stock. Roll it out. All the way out if you want to run it just as a pistol. So that will come all the way out. But to get it back in, you press this little button on the bottom, push it in, and then allow it to lock back. We have on the front, right by your trigger finger, we have the safe and fire selector. On the other side, we can see that we have, it's currently set to single fire, but this is where we go into party mode. And then on the top is where we cock it. Now there is something to be said for the loading of this weapon. When you put a magazine in, you have to make sure that it is set to fire. Otherwise you damage the internals of this. You'll damage the nozzle and the loading mechanism. So you make sure that's on fire. You put the magazine in and then you're ready to go. Ah, no gas in that one. Now there is something quite interesting with these, which we'll have a look at a little bit later on. If we take the follower all the way to the bottom, load it, cock it, it will still fire. And it does that because it has that bolt lock function on it. So with that down, it still thinks it's feeding BBs. So we'll put that up nice and carefully, as our yellow sticker recommends. The hop unit on this is quite an interesting one. It's not brand new. Well, it kind of is brand new, but it's not something that we've not seen before. It uses our little key. So let's get this out of the bag. Now what you're going to see is this little key has teeth on it, and we'll get a little close up of that in a moment for you to have a look at. And that matches up inside, see if we can get the angle right on the light, with the teeth just in here on the hop unit. And what you do is you put that inside there and you go up or down. Down gives you more hop, so it kind of rotates clockwise to bring you more hop onto the BB. Testing today, I've been using 0.2 gram Tippmann BBs. We've actually been testing a lot of Tippmann BBs and found them to be excellent quality. And a mixture of green, or Nupro 2.0, and black Nupro 4.0. And I've done that deliberately just to see how it functions differently. The rate of fire didn't change at all, but the chrono did, and it was quite a big jump. Now I wish I'd have had a can of red gas, so the one in the middle, just to get a good comparison, but during a lockdown you know you can't just nip round the corner and get some. I have seen somebody using filling up one of these mags from a butane can. So your normal camping gas can with the little adapter on the top. And he seems to get quite good results with it as well. So it's interesting. You can experiment with the types of gas you use, but obviously remember your FPS. You'll always have that age-old problem with gas blowbacks where people will think, oh, it's hotter than it really is because it's sound, and they get scared and they run away and they hide behind a tree or something. AMAT. So just make sure you're a little bit under. These come out, as you're going to see in the chrono bits in a moment, well under 350. We're looking at around sort of the 295 to 303 mark on 2.0 gas, on the green gas, so to speak, and it works really, really well. So why don't we have a quick look over at the chrono. So first up we have our green gas magazines, and as you can see there, the first round that went through was actually a double feed. Me being me, I didn't check the chamber before I put the magazine in, and there was already one in there. So we're looking anywhere from 295 to 303, around that kind of area, which is well under. And if you're using this as a sidearm, which is what I use it for alongside my DMR, that is all you need. You know, especially if you're going to be using full auto, especially if you're going to be, you know, trying to get into the front so you can sling your DMR or your sniper rifle and jump into the action a little bit. These are a great idea. Now, the reason I paused then is I've just looked out the window and seen it is snowing. So, interesting year so far. Interesting year. Okay, back to the chrono. So now we're going to move on to the Nuprol 4.0 black gas. So your more winter gas, something that's going to give you a bit more cycle rate when the weather is freezing cold. Not recommended during summer, obviously it's going to be a bit hot, but in the winter, if you can get the FPS low enough, if it's that cold, you might be able to get away with it, but it's not something we recommend. Stick with green gas, and in the winter you might want to move around a bit more rather than being sneaky and sniping, just to keep you warm. But anyway, let's have a look at the chrono for that one. So we're looking at 352 to 371 overall. It is a big gap, so what we can ascertain from this is that when you're using a more powerful gas, the FPS variance gets bigger. We're looking at an FPS variance of around 8 with the green gas, the 2.0, and almost 20, or over 20 at some point, with the black gas. Again, I would have liked to have had a look at red gas as well, but, you know, lockdown, I can't just nip down to Battle Zone and pick up a can of red gas. And being sensible, we don't post gas, any compressed gas. That would just be a bit silly. Let's now have a look at some magazines. So me being me and knowing that I wouldn't be able to stay off that party button, I had 3. And I'm probably going to pick up some more. They are heavy. Let's not muck about. These are heavy magazines. I would weigh some, but it just astounds me. Having 3 in one hand is incredibly heavy. But the construction of them is brilliant. The valves are really nicely seated. The actual finish on them is really nice. The springs are nice and easy to operate. And as you can see, you can just lock that in the top there. Now, filling these up is a little bit different. What you're going to be doing is pretty much getting a standard speed loader with no adapter on it and feeding straight through the top. It's a little bit weird to begin with, but once you get used to it, it's actually quite easy. And again, make sure you get that nice zigzag pattern as it shows on the instructions. And trust me, feeding is a little bit sensitive, but you get that zigzag pattern. Didn't have a misfeed once. When I was a little bit lazy and didn't do the zigzags, I had a couple of misfeeds. The second I straightened that out, not a problem. Not a problem at all. Now, what's really important to remember these magazines is to make sure you load it with the gun on fire. Sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but what you can do is knock the small trigger spring that sits in the back of the gun off, and then it won't fire at all. So, something to remember. It becomes, you know, if you're in the middle of a firefight, or whenever we walk out on the field, you're going to fire, you're going to test it, you're going to make sure. So you'll be putting that magazine with it on fire anyway. If you're in the middle of a firefight, you whack the magazine in, happy days. You know, you're reloading. So you're going to be doing that in the heat of the moment anyway. But as I said, these are really well-made magazines. They are heavy, you can feel it. I wouldn't like to drop one on my foot, that's for certain, especially in lockdown mode where we are all working from home. mainly just dressed from the top up, so no safety shoes on here. So really good quality magazines, and they're worth the price. Once you get one of these in your hand, you can tell that you've got 35 quid's worth of magazine in your hand. One thing I would say is they don't seem to weather very well. Now, I did chuck them about a little bit to see if I could get a little bit of wear on them. A little bit around where it grips into the pistol grip, but that was about it. So might have to get a little bit of sandpaper on these, but we'll get some more play out of them before we do that. One thing to say about these is, even though I was knocking them about a bit to try and get them wet, still worked perfectly. No issues at all. Absolutely none. So let's have a look at some gameplay footage. Now, one thing to remember with this gun, it is a sprayer. It's not a laser beam. Okay, it has a really good rate of fire, but it's not a laser beam at all. It is intimidating, I think is the right way to put it. There was a game where I ran it with a double-barreled sawn-off shotgun, and to see people's faces with that in one hand and the sawn-off shotgun in the other was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. It wasn't pleasant for them, let's put it that way. But I have run it as a sidearm for my DMR, and it functions brilliantly. If you are like me and occasionally you like to get forward, we can't let Rob take all of the objectives and win all of the glory. So it makes a wonderful backup. It makes a wonderful sidearm because you do have that full auto capability. The range is actually really, really nice. So let's have a look at some video. So as you can see, it is more of a sprayer, which is actually really useful for me, because with such a short barrel, the accuracy is really good at close range, but once you spread it out a little bit, which this gun has the option to do, it will reach out and touch people. It's not just for close quarter combat, that is for certain. But once you reach out a little bit, you do get a little bit of spray. Now, this could be down to my technique. I was one-handing this like your standard gas blowback pistol. Now, thinking about it, if I'd have actually put the stock out, put it in my shoulder, I probably could have got better results. So maybe we'll do a follow-up when I actually take it seriously. The gameplay that this was from was just a fun day out. We weren't taking anything seriously. We were just having a laugh, spent more time shooting each other. But as you can see, it has a really nice rate of fire, and the range on semi is actually really good. It's really quite useful as a backup, and especially if you can pair it with something equally as intimidating, like a sawn-off shotgun, you're going to have a wonderful pairing with those two. Okay, so when it comes out of the box, the thread on the barrel is huge. It's a non-standard thread. So out there are people that have 3D printed and CNC'd different little parts that you can use to add suppressors. Now, I'm in the minority here from what I can tell, but I think this would look really, really good with a suppressor on it. So what I did was I went out and found a replacement barrel. We'll do a little bit of a comparison in a moment, but I went out and found a barrel that just slots straight in. It's very, very straightforward. You're going to remove this pin. You're going to take it all to bits, and there is another pin you remove. That one slides out, this one slides in. You put your pins back in, job done. But this one has a 14mm counterclockwise thread. And what that allows you to do is take suppressors, shoot them straight on. Brilliant. You get that nice big image. I haven't really decided what suppressor I want to put on this yet. It is really frustrating. I'm thinking about the Osprey style suppressor, the square one. Being as this is a square weapon, it probably looked quite good, but I don't really want to go as far as, you know, mocking up a gangster loadout and having oil cans on there as a suppressor. But I'm also looking at some suppressors that are perforated, and they look really, really good. I believe this would look excellent with a suppressor. But one thing to note is you cannot put the quick detach suppressors on these. Because of where the thread is, it's quite a long way back on the barrel. Let's see if we can get this to show you. See if this will focus. So you can see that's about there. We'll get a better view of that in a moment. You can't put the flash hider on that goes with the QD suppressor. I've tried, it's very frustrating, but unfortunately, where a lot of flash hiders kind of curve in a little bit, it hits on the edge, so you can't actually screw it on. I initially thought, that's going to be a bit of a pain, but then realised that if the threads are up here, the barrel is going to be sticking out a bit and the suppressor is going to be out here. And I would like it as close as possible. Just resting up on this collar would be perfect for me. So again, in our update, once I've got a suppressor on here and we're back out there playing again, we'll put some pictures up and you can see the difference. I'm still in two minds as to whether I'm going to run it with the stock on or not. I love the way it looks with that stock on, but I'm wondering whether it might be a little bit more practical to run it without. There is a weight difference with it on. It is much lighter and it is slightly more forward heavy, which is quite nice. That's how I prefer my weapons, slightly more heavier at the front, and when we get a suppressor on there, that's going to be even more. So it's going to be a bit of experimentation. Put the suppressor on. If it then becomes too heavy, we whack this back on and it should balance it out, but we'll see how that one goes, and again, that will be part of an update. Now, for all of you that watched the little short on Facebook about this, and hopefully that brought you over to it, you would have seen that we went through the Battlezone website. Unfortunately, the KWA MP9s are out of stock, and they're great fun. They're absolutely brilliant. I really wish I'd have got to have a go on one of them before we had the lockdown, before they went out of stock. But the Scorpion and the Mach 11 are still both in stock. You can see the prices on the website, and it really is as simple as just going to www.battlezoneairsoft.com, selecting airsoft weapons, and then going to SMG, and they will all be there. Now, Gordon also has some other KWA weapons there as well. We've got the Ronin. So it has a magwell that looks remarkably similar to another one that we shall not name. There's probably going to be a million lawyers on YouTube at the moment going, oh, you can't mention our product and it looks similar to this. So we won't mention it. But jump on there and you'll be able to see what I mean. Again, they are fantastic guns. They've been absolutely brilliant. So thank you very much for watching. Like I said, we're going to be putting together some of these videos looking at pretty much my collection, because I can't just nip round the corner and borrow somebody else's. We might look back on some older gameplay, some right at the beginning stuff. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you might have already seen it. But you can see the humble beginnings of the team and the humble beginnings of me playing Airsoft, to be honest. But yeah, like I say, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.